I wanted to come on and make this video about how I turned a paperback book into a hardcover book. Now, let me preface this by saying that I am no pro. I am not a bookbinder. I'm not a book maker, keeper, whatever it's called. I am not that. Even though I find it very fascinating, this is going to be my second go around doing a process on this video. So keep that in mind, but also keep in mind that I'm a beginner and I was able to do it. Did want to do one before I did this video just so that I'd have a little bit of practice under my belt. And I'm glad that I did that because now I know what I need to fix for this one. So keep in mind that this is like a basic version, beginner's version, because that's what I am. I'm a beginner. So hopefully you'll find this little like how I did it tutorial helpful. I will also link the videos that I watched to like get the knowledge that I needed to be able to do this, and I would highly recommend watching this video, watching their videos, and maybe even searching for your own videos or looking on like Google or something, because it seems like there's many different ways to do this, and it's helpful to like know all those ways so that you can create a way that works for you. So here we go. I'll show you everything that I used right now. Okay, so before we start, I really wanted to explain the chipboards and how to cut them to the right size. Here's a little graphic that you can screenshot and use as a guide when you're actually cutting those boards. All right, on to the tutorial. Okay, so you're going to want 3 pieces of chipboard that you hopefully have already cut to the right sizes. The 2 biggest pieces will be the exact same size, and the spine will obviously go on the outside of the spine of your book. So right now I'm measuring the gaps in between. So in between the front cover and the spine, you're going to want about 1/4 of an inch plus the thickness of your chipboard. For me, my chipboard was about 1/16 of an inch, I think. So I'm measuring that all out here. I got these measurements from the Sea Lemon. I can't remember the exact name of the channel, but I will definitely link that video in the description below. So now what I'm doing is I'm gluing down those pieces to this piece of fabric using that Beacon Fabri-Fix glue. And I like to use the scraper so that I can kind of like knock down any large amounts of glue that might bleed through the fabric, because I did have some bleed through on my first project that I did, and so I want to make sure that I didn't get a ton of that on this one. I'm just kind of going crazy trying to do as much as I can without it being super saturated where it's gonna again bleed through. So yeah, I'm just kind of knocking it down a little bit so it's kind of spread out more than it's like globby. I don't know. I also don't think I mentioned that I kind of made these lines with pencil so that I knew where I needed to place them down. I also highly recommend ironing your fabric, which I'm not sure if I did that on this one. Maybe I did, but I highly recommend that, just so you get a professional look. Next, you're going to want to flip it around and kind of just make sure there's no little air bubbles. Flip it around again, make sure it fits on your book as best you can. Mine seemed like it was doing all right, so I continued on. Next, I took some scissors and I trimmed around the edges. I'd leave about 1/2 inch, maybe, somewhere around there. You're going to want it to be able to wrap around the book and also be able to be secure. If you cut it too short, it might tend to not have a good enough grip and slip off or just open up and not be as secure. Okay, so now I'm kind of just cutting some of the excess off of the corners so that it's not too bulky when those overlap. I leave a little bit of space though, just so that you're not having chipboard show through on the edges. This was actually a problem that I had with my first one, is that the edges were kind of frayed, so I'm kind of going to give you a little tip on how to avoid that in this video. So here I'm using kind of like a little makeshift palette, I guess, with that extra piece of chipboard and the glue. I'm using the brush, and by the way, don't use a super nice brush for this because the glue is going to be rough on it, and you're going to want to make sure that you rinse it with hot water right after you're done. So what I'm doing is I'm taking this piece of craft paper, and by the way, this is totally optional. I just thought it looked a little nicer and more professional this way, but I'm taking some craft paper and gluing it on top of where those pieces all kind of come together and meet, so that it's a little smoother and less rough, I guess. So I'm just kind of gluing all over where that craft paper is going to go. Alright, so now I'm just putting that piece of craft paper over it, kind of flattening it out. I used a little scraper to kind of get some of those wrinkles out. It really doesn't matter if there's some wrinkles. You'll see that I have some. And now I'm making a deeper crease just with the edge of this little gift card, just so it kind of makes it easier to have its I don't know what I'm trying to say. Just make it easier to fold when you come to put the cover on the book, if that makes sense. Okay, so now I'm putting some glue around the edge where that fabric piece is going to flap over. And I do this all around the edge. Let me speed that up a little bit so you don't have to sit here and painstakingly watch that. Okay, I wanted to slow it down here just so you can see what I'm doing. I'm kind of like putting some glue on top of that corner and almost like paper macheing it down. I don't know how else to explain it except for that. I just found that this kept it neater, and then when I folded over that other flap, it would all just be tucked neatly in there. Alright, now that you have your full-on cover, it's so exciting at this point because you can see it all coming together. You're going to take your paperback book, do another check just to make sure it's all kind of lining up. Mine seems to be doing all right, so I continue on, and at this point I'm going to be just go ahead and painting some glue right on top of this book. You're going to want to make sure you don't glue down the spine, because the spine's going to need a little wiggle room to be able to open up. And if you glue it down, your book just won't open. It'll just be a mess. So make sure you don't put glue on the spine. I just put it on the front cover and the back cover. And you can go ahead and put something like a piece of paper behind the cover so that you don't accidentally get any glue on the pages or the sides of the book. I found that the scraper actually worked super better. Yikes. I just found the little credit card thing to be a little more efficient. So I ended up using that. It just helps you spread it more evenly and get a nice, good coat of glue on your book. While you're watching me gracefully spread glue onto a book, I wanted to explain what kind of glue I'm using. So any kind of PVA glue should work for this project. I googled that, and basically like Elmer's glue, wood glue, you can actually buy a little container of glue that says PVA glue on it, and I'm assuming that would probably be the best. But if you're just trying to try this out for one project, don't go out and buy a whole new glue. Like, just use Elmer's glue or any other kind of PVA glue, and you can just Google that, and that should be totally fine. When I just glued this book down to the cover, I just made sure that lengthways it had about an 1/8 of an inch gap, and that's kind of like, that was my guide. That's how I knew where to place it down. So just make sure that you've got a little bit of the fabric showing through, about an 1/8 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch, right there. And that should be fine. The whole like tricky part about this project is getting the right amount of space in between like where the spine is and the cover, and like gluing it onto the paperback book in the right way. That's the trickiest part in my opinion, because when you open up the book, it needs room to be able to, like, for the spine to expand, I guess, or to kind of like bend into itself, if that makes any sense. I'm sorry if I'm bad at explaining this, but as long as you have about an 1/8 of an inch lengthways, you should be golden. And there you go. Technically it's done, but you're going to want to make sure you don't forget this part. You need to put some weights on top of the book as it dries, just to make sure you don't have any warping on the cover. Hello guys, it has been a couple days. These are the finished product. I redid the Old Testament, so the original one that I covered, I redid it because I just wasn't totally happy with it, and this one came out so much better than the original that I just wanted to redo everything I did with this one, with this old one. So I will give you one tip on something that I wish I would have done with this one, and that is let it dry with the weights on it for like at least 24 hours. I got really excited that same night, and I wanted to show David like what I did, and so I brought it to him. I showed it to him, and he was like, "That's really good, babe," and I was like, "Thanks." And then I left it on some like countertop or something, and it got a little, like, you can see this one, I've pressed it, like I've had the weights on it for several days trying to flatten it out, but I still have that one little derpy part right there. So I'm either going to redo this one, or I'm just going to keep the weights on it for a while, but just don't do what I did and get too excited and taking them off. Give it at least 24 hours or even 2 days if you have the patience for that, because this one I did let sit with the weights on it for a while, and it's like perfect. It's so good. It makes me so happy. I'll show you them opening, because that was the major part with the first one that I did, is that it was having a hard time opening right. But this one is opening really well. Not even a single crack. Did you hear that? That's awesome. I'm sorry, I'm a nerdy about this kind of thing. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way they turned out. I think they look really professional. Like, I think you'd see something like this at a store and like not blink twice. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. This one, I'll open this one for you too, but it's basically the same thing. I'm just really happy with this. I saved money by doing this. The chipboard was the most pricey part of it because I had to get a big pack of it on Amazon, but you could use the back parts of like a sketchbook, or like just because chipboard is like in a lot of different packaging, so you could really just save up the things that you would otherwise throw away and use them for a project like this. Otherwise, the fabric was about $2, and I didn't even have to use it all, and I made 3 books. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Seriously, the fact that even like 10 people watch these videos when I've worked so hard on them means a lot. So I just appreciate that so much. Hopefully you got some inspiration or just some entertainment out of these videos. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks a bunch. Bye.